Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dustin Cormier, and you're watching How to Rock Astrology. Today we're continuing our series, talking about the true story of the Nakshatra Gods by Vic Dicara. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Indra's mother and brothers. This is, of course, known as the Adityas and their mother, Aditi. Adityas means the many derivations of solar energy, and Aditi is space, in some ways, the mother of space. Vic Dicara is going to properly put these things in perspective, and that's what we're about to get into. The first aspect of this chapter, we're going to be talking about Punarvasu. The Nakshatra Punarvasu represents Aditi, the all-inclusive mothering energy. Now, Vic begins by saying, Indra's mother, Aditi, is an extremely important goddess. Her name, Aditi, means indivisible, irreducible. It refers to space, the indivisible, irreducible element. Space is the foundation of all tangible reality, and the source of all the tangible elements used to create tangible things. Aditi is the goddess of space, which makes her the goddess of the materials used to create tangible things. The creator, Brahma, the original creator, must draw upon her. She is the veil that we have to express reality through and experience reality through. Brahma is like the ultimate forefather, and Aditi the ultimate foremother. She is the mother of all beings that Brahma creates. The most astonishing thing of all, however, is that Brahma eventually creates her. Aditi exists eternally as the creative potential of empty space. The creator, Brahma, uses her potential form to create a progenitor named Daksha, who later fathers Aditi in a specific embodied form. Some cosmic classic stuff here. So thus does the Rig Veda famously say, Aditi comes from Daksha, but Daksha comes from Aditi. This act of cycling through intangible and tangible states, being put back together after being broken down, being reborn after death, is why she is known as Punarvasu, one who exists tangibly once again. In her intangible primordial form, Aditi mothered Brahma's initial creations. In her subsequent tangible form, as a daughter of Daksha, she mothered many divine beings, enabling them to also move, like her, from their intangible form into a tangible embodiment. The counts and reckonings of her children vary with the teller's scope and perspective. Her foremost children bear her name, Aditya, and take up her profession. So that's the Adityas. Aditi is the goddess of space, and the Adityas become gods of the sky. That's the local space in which the sun constantly revolves. We are accustomed to counting 12 Aditya, but the oldest texts, the Rig and Yajur Veda, count 8. The difference is due to different ways of dividing local space. When we conceive of local space in terms of how the sun moves through it over the course of a day, we see 8 Aditya, Vedic culture divided a day into 4 daylight and 4 nighttime segments, historically. When we instead conceive of local space in terms of how the sun moves through it over the course of a year, we see 12 Aditya, 1 for each month. When seen as 8, the Adityas are number 1, Aryaman. Aryaman rules the sky when the sun enters the nether regions leading to midnight. Varuna rules the sky when the sun enters the region beginning from midnight in the day, every day. Mitra rules the sky when the sun enters the region leading towards sunrise in the early morning. Savita, or Savitri, Amsha, rules the sky when the sun enters the region beginning from sunrise, and that's the morning. Now the deity the Aditya, Tvasta, or Datri, rules the sky when the sun enters the region leading towards noon. I like to make the note that there was a mention of Tvasta relating to a sense of impartiality. The sense of impartiality that comes by being on the cusp of the split between behind noon and afternoon. And this is important to the character of Indra, who happens to be the region beginning from noon. Makes sense that Indra is considered the greatest or penultimate of Aditi's children. Indra begins noon, which is the sun at its height, the sun at its most basic essential nature, or better or worse, in the sense of egotism. After Indra comes Bhaga. It's the region leading towards sunset. It's interesting that Bhaga relates to enjoyment. We're going to talk about that soon. And Martanda rules the sky when the sun enters the region beginning from sunset, leading towards Aryaman, and leading towards death. Now, while Aditi was pregnant with her 8th son, the moon god Chandra arrived at her door, expecting hospitality. Since she was experiencing pains from the pregnancy, it took Aditi a very long time to answer the door, which irritated Chandra. He gave up and stormed off, saying, "This child causes Aditi to neglect her friendships and duties, so she would be better off without it. May it die immediately." Just then, Aditi's child did in fact die in her womb, and she began weeping incessantly. Her husband, the sage Kashyapa, soon returned from his practices and found her sobbing. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Our child is dead," she told him. "Chandra cursed him." "Dear lady, you have done no wrong," the sage reassured, "and the gods cannot curse us sages. I will reverse Chandra's foolish curse here and now." Thus the child came back to life and soon was born. To commemorate how the child had died and was brought back to life, Kashyapa named him Martanda, which means "from the womb of death." Aditi gave Martanda a special role, different from his own 7 brothers, whom she sent out to dwell in their own nakshatra. She kept Martanda with her in her own nakshatra, and made him the progenitor of the mortal race, humans, who are born and die again and again. Punarvasu. Psychedelic. Relates to us. A dimension of us. Thus the Rig Veda says, Aditi has 8 sons, but took only 7 to meet the gods. She kept Marshanda, making him the source of those who spring to life from death again and again. Now, during the current creation period, and Vic gives us a note on the text, the current creation period is known as Vaivashvata Manvantara. The Vedic literature and philosophy and consciousness insists that we are going through ages, yugas, or creation periods. Different people have different ideas about them. According to according to Vic, the current one is the Vaivashvata Manvantara. So during the current creation period, Marshanda takes the post of Surya, becomes known as Vivashvan, marries the cloud goddess Saranyu, and fathers Vaivashvata Manu, the prime progenitor of human mortals. Manu, M-A-N-U, might ring a bell to a lot of people interested in Vedic literature. Aditi also gave Marshanda rulership of local space, the sky, along with his 7 brothers. He rules the sky when the sun falls below the western horizon and dies, to be born once again in the east. This is the story of Indra's mother and brothers. It's an important chapter in the cosmology and creation myth of the Nakshatras and of humanity. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is only one chapter in our reading. Stay tuned. Next episode, we're going to be talking about Uttara Falguni and Aryaman. We're going to talk about Mitra, the deity Mitra, the deity Savita, and the deity Bhaga. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one.